Greetings from Rocky Mountain Gardens. I'm Mary, and today I would like to welcome you on another tour of a botanic garden that is right here in Colorado. I went to this garden last summer and I hadn't been in quite a while, and surprise, this garden is called the Betty Ford Alpine Gardens, and it's right in the area of Vail, Colorado. So guys, if you ever travel to Colorado and you're a gardener, I definitely recommend that you stop there. It is really delightful. But you'll see that in the video today. And I hope you really enjoy this, in our time when we can't get out as much, but we can take little video trips to other places around the world and the country. And if you're interested, I have a whole playlist of botanic gardens. Well, there's not a huge list, but some gardens in Ireland, in Missouri, and hopefully later this year I'll do the Denver Botanic Gardens, which is fairly famous as well. But let me tell you really quickly before we take our tour, a little story about when I went to the Betty Ford Gardens when my daughter was about 8 years old. And this was when the gardens were fairly new. And we were standing with our friend up on a hillside in the gardens, and we were looking down, and we could see an elderly lady standing there with two men. And the two men had those little earphone things in their ears. And my friend and I said, "Oh my gosh, that must be Betty Ford with her Secret Service." So, we didn't want to mob her or anything, but she had come that day to take her granddaughter to the gardens to see them. And when we hiked back down, because the gardens are kind of built on a hillside, it's quite lovely. And so as we were coming back down and went into the little gift shop, there was Betty Ford inside, and my daughter went in. I said, "Go talk to her, Hannah, because she is a first lady. She was married to President Ford. She's very special, so go say hi to her." And my daughter, who's normally very shy, she actually did go in and tell her hello. And Betty talked to her and showed her some of the little cute things in the gift shop. It was very sweet. A nice memory for us. But let's go ahead and move over and start touring the Alpine Gardens. At the entry to the gardens, you will see this welcome sign that tells us that this garden is at 8,200 feet in altitude, and it is I think it is the highest botanic garden in the world. Now, there are these very nice stone walkways through the flower gardens, as you can see there. And many things were blooming here. We were in the garden around August, sometime in early August. I forgot the precise date, but it was still full of many beautiful later blooming flowers, as you can see here. And as we walk along that stone pathway, you can see off in the distance some of the guests that are there. And I'm going to swing around to share with you this unusual sculpture that was done by Patrick Doherty. And this sculpture is called Willow Wonder, and it is a stick work made with willow branches. And as you can see, the kiddos really like playing in it. It is a very unusual sort of abstract sculpture, which is in the gardens right now. Of course, it won't last forever since it is made of willow. It will eventually decay and I think start falling apart, but it was very interesting. Now, this is a close-up of a type of sea holly. I don't know the precise variety, but this does quite well in our Rocky Mountain garden area, and you could plant it in your garden, of course, at home. Now, the Alpine Garden is filled with small ponds and flowing little streams, and waterfalls. They're just delightful. Lots of bridges as you walk around through the gardens. And you can see here a waterfall coming down. Isn't it pretty? Just a lovely little sound of falling water. And these yellow tall flowers are called ligularia. The variety might be the rocket, I'm pretty sure. But they do well in moist areas like around a pond. Here's one last look at the waterfall. And now we're just going to move on to different little areas of the garden that are filled with flowers that do well in alpine and tundra areas of the world. It's amazing how many things can bloom between the big boulders here that you see. And we're coming back around here to see a closer view of the ligularia. Here's another smaller water fountain. And look at that lovely bridge. Now, the way this garden is designed, there is a stone pathway that you climb up to the top of the gardens on the hillside, and then you get a good view from the top of the rest of the garden, which we'll see here in a little bit. And then there's another stairway that comes down the other side. Now I wanted to share with you a close-up of this darling little columbine, and it is called a Chiricahua Mountain columbine. Isn't it cute with the yellow and red colors? And here's another field of flowers, and actually in this view I'm at the top of the gardens, and there you can see all of the pine trees and aspen trees and blue spruces that are growing as well in this garden space. And here's the path where we're going to take steps on down to the bottom side of the garden. But in the meantime, here's a close-up of this pine needle penstemon that is very drought tolerant. And again, here we're looking up one of the stairways. That's the one that I had just walked down. And over in this direction is a view of the multiple bridges that you cross as you're walking through the gardens. You can see they used a lot of this pine needle penstemon. That's the red flower that you see here, which does so well out here in the mountains and in our dry climate. I believe the bluish purple flower there is Rocky Mountain penstemon. And that large bush there is called rabbit brush. And there's a bridge that leads over to the steps that go up to the top of the gardens. And here you can see this lovely cascading little brook that flows down from the top. Isn't it delightful? Really, really pretty, with all of these boulders and stonework. Just very, very lovely design to this lovely garden. And here you can see all the boulders and the stairs again that I had just walked down. I wanted to show you this flower called Cupid's Dart. These are actually the buds of the flowers. I'm sorry they're a little bit fuzzy on this picture, but when it blooms, this is what it will look like. Isn't it a lovely bluish purple flower? My favorite color. There it is, Cupid's Dart. And lastly, when I came down to the bottom of the gardens, back to the entryway, was a large field of, I believe those are delphiniums in the background, and then California poppies here. These sort of yellowish orange flowers that you see. So pretty. And lastly, here's another view of the museum and gift shop. The wind was getting quite breezy at that time. I really hope you enjoyed that tour and that it was a pleasant escape from, what we're facing in the world today. So come on back, because next week I'll be doing some more DIYs, and stay tuned also for upcoming a tour of my house for spring and Easter, which you may enjoy. So I hope to see you again, and stay safe.